Human beings are typically social creatures, but when removed from social environments and placed into complete or partial isolation, does it actually have an effect on people? And is this effect physiological or psychological? An example of extreme isolation can come from Sarah Shurd's story. Sarah went hiking in the Iraqi Kurdistan mountains with some friends when they were arrested by Iranian troops after straying too close to the border of Iran. They were accused of being spies and kept in solitary confinement in an Iraqi prison for 416 days, where they received little to no human contact for the duration of their stay. Sarah stated in one interview that in the time she was alone, she saw illusions or phantoms, and one day she claims to have heard a shrill screaming, only to discover that when the prison guard came to help her, that the screams were actually her own. Another example of extreme isolation comes from the memoir A Stolen Life, where the author, J.C. Dugard, shares her story about how she was kidnapped when she was only 11 years old and kept captive for 18 years. Her kidnapper kept her locked up in his hidden backyard, which was surrounded by a 6-foot-tall fence. This is where she resided for 18 years of her life, and also where she was raped countless times, raised her 2 daughters, and housed pets for only months at a time. Generally, JC was left alone for so long that she actually grew to become happy whenever her kidnapper came to see her. This suggests that loneliness and isolation may really warp our reality, and maybe they do have major effects on the mind and body. It is said that 1 in every 5 persons is lonely, and that majority of people don't have anyone to talk to or spend time with, and sadly enough, this rate is increasing rapidly. Loneliness has increased with modernization. Since people are becoming more immersed in virtual social communities and networks, they don't have the urge to attend social gatherings or stay in touch with family and friends. Loneliness and lack of companionship make people vulnerable and affects physical and mental health to increase the risk of mental health disorders. Though there is a lot about the brain that we do know, there is also a lot that we don't know as well, like whether loneliness rewires the brain differently to alter its emotional and psychological functions, or whether it predisposes people to feeling isolated and alone. Research shows that loneliness is connected to genetics, but there are several external factors that lead to loneliness and social isolation. Some of these factors may include abuse or rejection by others, inability to fit in, heartbreak, death and divorce, social media, and aging. Some people may crave their alone time, but more often than it is admitted, we all get lonely. According to a research at the University of Chicago, 20% of all people are unhappy because of social isolation at any given point in time. UC also conducted another experiment to find out whether or not lonely brains react differently than those with strong central networks. In this experiment, lonely and non-lonely subjects were shown pictures of people in both pleasant and unpleasant settings. When the pleasant photographs were viewed, the non-lonely subjects showed much more activity in a section of the brain that plays an important role in learning. This section is known as the ventral striatum, which also affects the brain's reward center. The brains of lonely subjects displayed far less activity in this region of the brain when they viewed both the pleasant and unpleasant pictures. Loneliness is one of the major causes of many mental diseases, and the sense isolation can carry has a similar effect on the brain that is noted when an individual experiences physical pain. The sense of belonging to a group or community is important not only for companionship, but also for survival. So you might be thinking by now, why is this important? I'm not lonely. And yes, maybe that is true and you aren't affected by loneliness or isolation. Maybe you do have belonging to a group accompanied by regular companionship. If that is the case, consider yourself lucky because there is a noticeable amount of people that are unable to find a sense of belonging in today's society. Perhaps the reason that an increasing number of people are beginning to find themselves unrelatable to certain social groups and communities is because the standard or desired qualities that the ideal person has are unattainable for the majority of the population. Every day, people are exposed to all sorts of media, where things such as the perfect body, the dream house, and the right fashion are all portrayed in what today's society has deemed desirable. There are sort of things that stem the idea of social prowess and give people a sense of what is viewed highly in a social hierarchy. To eliminate the entirety of this social isolation, we must eliminate social standards and form a new concept of ideal by accepting all people despite their appearance or possession. We can help so many people by simply showing kindness and acceptance. By including people, we can help them understand that they don't have to be lonely. We can help to reduce the rate of mental health diseases simply by showing empathy and compassion for other people. So I encourage you to look beyond your differences with others. Talk to people, get to know them. Look beyond your social boundaries and go out of your comfort zone. Because when you do so, not only are you challenging your own will, but you could be changing someone's life without even knowing it.